as I was saying about Judge Lamb, he's so involved, but I think he's one of the ones that the feds need to squeeze real hard. And don't take this wrong, but Judge Lamb is not as bad as the rest. Yes, he's involved, but if anybody gets to walk from it, he's the only one I'd say that they need to let walk. If he turns over state's evidence to help prosecute the rest of them. If he'll do that, then I'd say let him walk.
Is he one of the family, or is he just one of the hitmen?
He's just one of the hitmen. And I think he's being threatened and pushed around to do from Judge Hatch. Told what to do. You understand what I'm saying? Because the guy, I don't have much compassion for them people, but he's one that I sort of do, because he's a stone cold alcoholic, and I think he was forced into that. You understand? Because of the stress they put him in by making him be corrupt. I don't think he originally started out that way. I really don't. He's the only one I can say that about. The rest of them are just trash. But he's the only one. And Judge Van Wyck is a very good judge. And I think if Judge Van Wyck would have been put in place of in Navajo County as the sitting judge, the head judge, I think Navajo County would have never turned out like this. I really do. He's strictly by the book, by the law, and that's all you're asking for, is honesty in a court. You know what I mean? And not let the prosecutor come in and do what he wants. That's all you're asking for. Be honest. And he is that. And like I said, I believe Judge Lamb was that way at one point until they forced him to do what they wanted him to do. And then MCAT, of course, will try to put everything on his lap just to get him busted and out of there because he's not fitting into their program. You know, he's that weak link, so to speak.
Let's talk about the prosecutors and their vested interest. How much money are they making off each? Let's talk about their little, how they make money. Let's talk about the legal way they make money. And then we'll talk about how the palms are greased. And we'll talk the PDs and the DA.
So when you say legal way, you're talking about on the...
billing tax dollars for bullshit, okay. Basically.
Well, when they bring them in and of course they prosecute...
And let's name the prosecutors. Tweed and...
Oh, yeah, Jason Tweed, yeah.
Name them all.
Jason Tweed, Edwards, Dan Healy, Blaine Roden, Brad Caroline, he's the head DA, of course, but there's so many of them, I can't. I'd have to sit down and look at the list. I have the list.
Well, let's talk about how they make money then.
Okay.
How does a DA make money?
DA basically makes money when he brings up a case and prosecutes it. So...
And wins, right? He gets more when he wins, right?
That's right. It's more money when he wins. Now see, they can get a salary. Don't get me wrong. They can be placed on a salary. But their motivation for making money, even if they're on a salary, every case that they win or prosecute, they still get a bonus. And let's don't forget the fact, even if they don't get a bonus, they're paid off by the private prisons of America. Because that bed has to be full. Okay? Everybody's motivation goes right back to the private prison system. Here's the way it works. You go to court, you get prosecuted, they set up a plea deal, they try to get you to take a plea first. You get scared because they threaten you with a lot of time, which is unethical, and they can't do that. They can say you could possibly get this much time if you're found guilty. But that's not what they say. They say, we're going to send you to prison or the prosecutor's going to send you to prison for 50 years. So you better take the plea, is basically how they run it down to you. You better take the plea, or you're going to get 50 years. That's your own attorney telling you, public defender, telling you this statement. Take the plea, you're going to get 50 years. Well,
Why would a public defender say that?
well, think about it. Public defender's paid a set amount, whether you go to trial or whether you don't. He's paid a set amount. But he can bill for extra items, such as investigative fees or what have you. He can turn in bills, and
So he can create his own paycheck?
well, yeah,
In a way?
in a way, yeah, because he's a public defender, so he can send in a request that we need money for investigative fees, we need money for papers, we need money for whatever. Send it in, or if they do it on a set amount, look at it like this: the public defender takes your case, and he only gets $2,500 for your case, and that's all he gets to spend. $2,500. Okay, that's a lot of money. Think about that. $2,500. Now, prosecutor says, "Hey, we need a conviction, man. We got to get this guy down to the prison system." Oh, okay. We got to fill up the state prison first, and then everything after that goes to the private prisons. So that's what they do. Everything they send to the state prisons and it's overfilled, they have to send to private prisons, contracted. So the private prisons only get those people if the states are full. So they have to keep the state full, correct? Or they're not making money. Because everything after that goes to the private.
How much would a public defender make a year?
Well, those public defenders up there? Probably, I'd say neighborhood 250, 300,000 a year. if you count their bonuses from the private prisons of America, and of course it's not directly cash to them; it's cash to whoever they got invested, a stockbroker, whoever carrying it in their name, and then they just put it in a different account, name under, false name in a different account. So they have a pretty healthy retirement at the end of the day. And they just live the life like they're not doing nothing in a low, middle income, so they don't attract a lot of attention to themselves. But
So how much would a public prison entity pay a public defender to not do his job?
that's a good question. It'd be a large amount of money, I imagine.
Because I can imagine if somebody came to somebody making $300,000 a year and said, "I'll double your income," and who gives a fuck about these people?
Yeah.
They're going to go to jail anyway.
That's right. Because they're just a number. They're not a human. They place everybody as a number. So if you really think about it, that's a good question. Because, you look at the people in charge, the head public defender. Now, he's the guy that you would approach and say, "Hey, I'll double that." Or the head prosecutor, the DA, he's the guy you would approach. Then he'll tell his little monkeys in each direction, public defender or prosecutor, "Hey, I need you to do this on this case, you know what I mean? Send them to prison." Yeah, they're going to prison. Money, all jacked up. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it really is. There's so many ways for them to cheat the system, and people don't understand that. Overcharging for what they do in their offices, sending in the bills, and the taxpayers are flipping the bills. Judges get $145,000 a year. Now think about what I just said. You're paying somebody like Judge Higgins to get $145,000 a year out of tax dollars. That's not counting what he makes from the corruption. That's just a piece of it. What does he really make? So, you know what? Let's do a polygraph and find out what he really makes.
Well, I would imagine the private prison system has a tier. So depending on where your position is, you make a different amount.
You make a different amount. But no, you hit some good point. And then you got every individual tied. So an outside lawyer, a contract attorney with the state, like Benjamin Burr. Benji would take your case appointed by the court. So the court's going to pay him to represent you because it's conflict for the public defender to have it. So he has to get an outside lawyer, so they pay for it. Now Benji could send in receipt after receipt after receipt for anything he wants. And they're going to keep cutting the checks to Benji's office to pay for your fees, right? Well, Benji's not going to abuse it. But let's say it was Ron Wood, on the other hand, in his office. Ron Wood's going to send in big bills. And the very judge that gave him the case, when they go to eat lunch together, he's got his hand at the table, and old Ron Wood's down there counting it out in his hand. Pretty good, huh?
He was my first PD. And I fucking got rid of him.
Gee, you know, in fact, I think somebody has a videotape of that on their phone.
Really?
Yeah. No, that's serious, man. Ron Wood's and a particular judge.
Wow.
Actually, it wasn't counting it out, but it was passed in an envelope under the table. And they got it on the phone. And what else is going to be passed under a table? I mean, come on.
Drugs or money?
Money or drugs. So, every time I talk to that girl about it, I just laugh. And I'm like, why didn't you just get up and walk over there and say, hey, I've got you. What was that you passed him? Just do that. What was it you passed under there? That's
Does she still have it? Can I get that footage?
We might be able to. I can call her.
I would like to get that.
Yeah, I'll call her. I will.
That's the kind of proof we want.
Yeah.
Because that shows people, hey, look. You know, when I first came in and everything.
It's been a tremendous ordeal. I have a daughter that's handicapped. She has a seizure disorder. And it's just tore apart everything. And my daughter's just scared to death of police now. She doesn't trust any of them because of what she's seen and how they handled themselves at the house. They kicked in the door and there was no need for it. All they had to do was knock. They know good and well we have a handicapped child. Because the police officer knows that personally. Anyway, they just really abusive. Held my wife outside, which had nothing to do with anything, knew nothing about nothing. 4 hours in a pair of handcuffs. They tore our whole house apart, took things that belonged to my daughter. They had nothing to do with anything. They even took my mother's death certificate, my brother's death certificate, and his birth certificate. Those are things are very hard to replace. They never gave them back. That's another thing. Why would you take death certificates of my mother or of my brother? And birth certificates, Social Security cards. That has nothing to do with anything.
What did they take from your daughter?
Her computer, brand new computer, laptop that her grandmother gave her for Christmas, for her to start doing Starfall on, which she was delayed because of that, because we didn't have a regular desktop computer at the time, so that's why she got her the laptop, so she could do her schoolwork and stuff on the computer, because you could get Starfall online because of her seizure. She has a learning disability because of the seizure disorder, and the cops had total disregard for anything or anybody. It's all about money. It's not about the law. It's not about people breaking the law anymore. It's about them showing total lack of respect to people, and that's why they're so disliked everywhere in this country now. And that's why people look down on them now. They just want to puke when they see one, because they know it's they're either involved in corruption or they have something to do with destroying somebody's life. And you got to have the law enforcement, because things that do go on, we understand that, but not at the extent that they're abusing people and destroying families. It's ridiculous on what they do and how they perform. If you got a guy with a gun, you're not going to walk up and try to have a conversation with him. But at the same time, when they approach people, in most cases they don't have weapons, and it's like I said, it's total lack of respect for people. It's not about the law. It's not about enforcing the law. It's not about punishment in the regards of the law. It's about punishment to make them feel stronger and more inferior over people that ain't carrying a badge or don't have a gun on. And it's about money. Strictly about money. The system now has nothing to do with the law. Trust me, it has nothing to do with the law. It's all about money. It all revolves around the mighty dollar. They throwed out the law, and they brought in the corruption. They seen a dollar sign and said, boy, we can grab this. This is great. We can start making these laws and passing these bills. And so many laws, like Proposition 200, first-time drug offenders are not supposed to go to prison. Well, they're doing it. They're sending people to prison. Navajo County does it all the time. And they're first-time offenders. And they're not supposed to send them to prison. That's mandatory. They're supposed to get a drug program. And it's, why are you sending these guys to prison? You're creating a felony history for them. They can't ever get a job. They know that. That pays anything. Think about that for a minute. Anybody who goes and applies for a job that has a felony, and I'm talking about a job, not Walmart, not Kmart, not McDonald's, I'm talking about a real job where they can make money and provide for their family and have the American dream like everybody else. They can't get it. The only job they're ever going to get is McDonald's, construction site, $10 an hour, $12 an hour. They're not ever going to succeed. And they know that. And that's what they want. They don't want those people to succeed. Those are the very people that will run against them and be in the politics and get the corruption out so they can continue. And that they want their families in there to continue corruption, their kids. Let's continue the corruption. Let's build a big network of family and get them all in there. Then we keep it going, turning it over and push these people out. It's continued all over this country. And if you notice, you don't have any constitutional rights. Your Constitution is finished. Your right to vote, you have to submit after so many years, I believe it's 4 years or 5 in the state of Arizona, you can submit to the court and ask them to reinstate. In most cases they don't, because they don't want you to vote. Because now that you know about their corruption, you're going to vote against it. So they don't want your vote. They want your vote out. Because you were sent to prison, so you know what they do, and you know about their scams. So what better way to keep you out is to deny you to be reinstated on your rights. But what's sad about this country is all of our ancestors fought for the Constitution, and that's what that's about. Is everybody that died for it in every war, that continues to fight for it, and all the lives lost. Now this country is turned upside down. I mean, think about what's going on. People want to leave the country now. They don't even want to be here. You go around and start asking people how they feel about being in the United States. They tell you, if I had the money, I would leave. And where does that leave this country? Think about it. There's not enough people. If people start literally leaving and going elsewhere, there's not enough people in this country to fight for it. And what's going to happen then?
Who's going to pay for welfare?
That's right. And what about these politicians? You know, nobody wants to protect them no more. That even the military. I mean, kids that are in the military are sons or daughters. They don't even want to fight for the politicians no more because they're starting this crap. They're destroying this country, and people are going, you know what? When they come over here to start a war, let them take the politicians that started it and leave us alone, and take them and go on and do whatever you want to do with them. And that's really what should happen. They create this mess. Let them have them. You know, let them have them. I didn't create it. They did. They create a felony background for people. Even children now. I mean, you got kids everywhere that are being charged with felonies. And they keep them in the system until they turn adults and then give them another felony. So they destroy their whole life. It's a proven fact, if we shut down a bunch of these prisons, proven fact, and take these people and match it with counselors, the very guards, the staff members in the prison system, and see what their education and their background is, and to start hiring them as counselors. You can create more jobs, have less on the taxpayers to have that prison used for a counseling center, and still maintain it and create more jobs and not pay near what you're paying to the salary for prison staff and to maintain a prison, when you could be counseling people and teaching them and giving them something to look forward to, giving them a hope that they can turn their lives around. What I'm saying is, so let's take a private prison that's a 4,000 bed unit, and you shut it down, and all the nonviolent offenders, you release them, and every staff member that's in that building could still have a job at that prison complex and take the fences down, open up the whole place, but in sections for counseling, for guidance from those staff members, retrain them, and now you're going to even create more jobs. You're going to create more jobs than what you already have with the staff, and it's going to be cheaper because of the money being pumped out of the prisons and the theft of it. Let's go back to 1990, 96, 95, 96, Prairieville. The deputy warden was molesting his own children. They were stealing food. Staff members were stealing food out of the kitchens. They were ordering, Florence was ordering, let's go to Florence. They were ordering steaks and large quantities of meat the inmates weren't getting, but the staff members were taking it home. That's proven fact. That's all legal document. They were repairing their own horse trailer, personal horse trailers, and using the inmates to do it, to work on them, and getting it free, not costing them a dime. They were selling military equipment and got caught. I mean, this is a continued thing for Arizona. History speaks for itself of what they've got busted at. And what happened to those very people? How many of them went to prison? Think about that for a minute. How many of them went to prison? Out of everything I just mentioned to you, one person out of the whole thing went to prison. One. You know how long he spent? 12 months. So how do we justify that? They're the people in charge. They created major fraud, theft from the taxpayers, and they spent 1 year. Okay. But you want to give somebody like me 10 years for a crime I didn't commit. Okay, makes sense, huh? Well, it's not just me, it's everybody. Drug cases, burglary, theft, fraud, bad checks. The whole thing is got to stop. Whether it's you, me, because it's going to be our children next, their children, and it's only going to get worse. If we don't stop what they're doing, it's going to get worse. And then everything I'm saying now, the very people that listen to it are going to say, I wish I would have listened. Well, don't wish. Listen now and do something now to fix what's wrong in this country. Stand up. Choose your vote very well. Look at the votes. Pay attention to the numbers. Pay attention to all the numbers. Everywhere. When you see a judge running for a seat on the Superior Court, look up the population in that county. See how many people are there. Look and see how many votes he gets. And then do the math. I mean, it's real simple. If you got 100,000 people in the county and he's got 200,000 votes, oop, Jesus, that doesn't take a genius to figure out that they're lying. There's not 200,000 people in the county. So, Higgins, Nelson, Hatch, if we go back and look at their history and start pulling up records and checking the votes and start getting people to come forward and step up, you can prove for a fact that they weren't voted in. It was lied. It was all lies. Go back, do an audit. We can prove that they're stealing. People filling up their gas tanks, personal gas tanks, taking anything they can take of value from the complex, overcharging for hours they don't work, abuse and discretion of public funds, tax dollars.
Accountability.
If you don't make them accountable, you can't ever do nothing. It's time to make them accountable. The money that's being spent everywhere is just absurd. I mean, Arizona doesn't need more prisons. They need to shut them down. Let the nonviolent people back out on the streets. Let them provide for their families. Try and rebuild their family relationship again with their wives or girlfriends so they can move forward and try and make something of themselves. Get them counseling. Hire counselors. Start new programs. You know, that's another thing. You know, the prison system will start up a program and get all the funding for it. They'll carry it out for 90 days, shut the program down and take all that money and say, oh, the program didn't work. But they don't account for the money. Where did the money go? I'll tell you where it went. In their pockets, just like everything else they do. It's always the people in charge. Corruption in the Arizona State Prison, it's at a high level, very high level. Staff members, and not your everyday staff members, we're talking about people in charge. Everyday staff members are only told to do, and they do what they're told by their bosses. And they have no way of controlling what's being done, only to do what they're told. So, accountability for them is they need to step up to the plate and say, no, you're doing something illegal and we're not going to let it happen. That's how it starts. People standing up. If they fire you, okay, then you go scream and get it on television. You scream to the public, this is what's going on. We need to stop it. You understand? So then people know and they won't let it continue. But that's where we lack. We don't care about our neighbors anymore. We don't care about our neighbors' children. We don't care about... It's ridiculous. People have gotten to the point to where they want to close their door and don't want nothing to do with it. Oh, hey, there's a lady getting murdered. Close your curtain. She's getting killed. I don't want to see it. Oh, anybody going to call 911? No, because the cops might shoot us. I mean, it's true. You know, they'll come and say we were involved. That's why nobody wants to do nothing. The country's backwards now. I mean, you got people legitimately want to pick up the phone and help, But they know the minute they do that they're under suspicion from the cop, because the cop is looking to bust anybody. Oh yeah, they look suspicious. Let's take them. Nothing to do with anything. And I laugh about it because that's what's happening now. You can't even trust the cop you call. I was told by a very, very honest person in Navajo County that when she made a comment to me that she needed to call the police because she was being threatened, and she said, but I can't even call them because I don't know what they're going to do to me. She's like, who do you call? And I'm like, well, you close your doors, get a gun, and sit right by the door. You know, that's who you call. Because you can't even defend yourself. The very cop that you call to take the report, you don't know who you're getting. Is he dirty? Is he clean? Is he going to be honest or is he going to lie? Every cop I've ever seen, every cop I've ever come in contact with, out of every one of them, only 2 in my whole life was honest. 2. That was Lowell Huggins and Tom Lynch when I was a kid growing up. The only 2 that would be straight up with you and tell you, hey, you know what? You better get out of here, man. The rest of them are coming. They're no good. They would tell you that. Just keep your butt out of trouble and get out of here. You know? But the cops that were coming would make up things you never did or had nothing to do with just so they could look better to their job. There's a thing called clear paper. I want everybody to know about this. So, you get arrested for anything, a drug charge, a DUI, a traffic ticket. And the cop finds some screwdrivers in your car, which everybody can buy screwdrivers and have them. And he says, you know, that's a burglary tool. Huh? Well, I can buy screwdrivers anywhere. That's still a burglary tool. I'm going to arrest you on it. He takes you down to the police station. Now, he just stopped you to give you a ticket for running a red light. I'm charging you with possession of burglary tools. Now, listen to me. I'm willing to make you a deal here. You know, there's been 20 burglaries in this area that we haven't been able to clear up. And I think you're the guy that's responsible. So here's the deal I'm going to make with you. And listen, it ain't going to affect you in any way. Just plead guilty and tell me you did all these 20 on the statement. Write it out for me. And you're only getting charged with possession of burglary tools. And I'll let you go home tonight. And I'll make sure you get probation. That's the God's truth. They call it clearing paper. Help them clear paper. Now, you don't get charged with all those because if you helped them clear it and said, yeah, I did it. That's true. I swear to you that's true. That's what they do. It's called clearing paper. It's sickening. It makes me want to fucking puke, man. That's what they do to people. Help me clear these crimes. So then they go to their boss. I told you, I got the guy, he's right there, he did all these crimes. The guy never did none of them. He only signed the stinking statement so he could go home that night. And he never had burglary tools. He didn't even know they were burglary tools. He's just worried about going to prison now and never been in trouble in his life. So he's sitting there stunned and going, Jesus Christ, where do I start? Because he doesn't know any better. That's how they create victims out of everybody. The people that sit on jury panels and grand juries don't understand that. That's how they do it. They create a victim. And then they make them look like the perk. So they turned a good person in to a bad person. But the whole time they're telling this guy, you're a good person. Don't worry about it, man. I'm just clearing paper. It means nothing. Yeah, go ahead and sign that and fill that statement out. I swear to you, that's what they do. I'm living proof of it as a kid. I'm telling you what they do. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
And I think this is very important for the public to know. When your child or anybody ever ever gets stopped, and I think it starts at an early age. I think you need to start training your children now, as they're growing up. If you ever get stopped by a police officer, you're in kindergarten, or if he ever questions you, son, I need my attorney. That's the words you need to teach your child now in school when they start kindergarten all the way up. Every day you need to pump into them, I need my attorney. Seriously, I think that's the only way to solve it now. I need my lawyer. And don't say a word. Teach them not to say a word. Because from age 5 on up, they charge them with murder. They charge them with assault. In a child, I mean, let's be real. A 7-year-old child shoots his father's friend and his father because they're molesting him, and he gets charged with murder. Really? Okay. They've been molesting him over and over, and he shoots his dad and his friend for doing it, and you charge him with murder? Really? What have we turned into? I mean, what kind of person are you to charge a child that's been molested over and over that kills these people that done it? He committed a crime. Yeah, he still committed a crime. He's 7 years old, for God's sakes. He don't even know the meaning of the gun. He just picked it up because he had enough. I mean, so I wonder how they would feel, the prosecutor that prosecuted that child. I wonder how they would feel sitting in the same position as that 7-year-old child. I wonder how they'd like that. They wouldn't. They would hate life. But ended on a good note. The corruption in Navajo County, everybody has to stand up and stop it. And then work this whole country and expose anytime people are corrupt, expose it. Get people to know about it. And I think the main thing of this is we can start by the jurors, because they have to select from the community no matter what. And if they manage to get all their poison friends in there, that's okay. Because when you go to appeal, you still get a good jury. Somewhere down the line, you're going to get some honest people. And if they hear about stuff like this, they're going to at least keep an open mind. They're not going to want to be a hero when the whole time they're sending somebody to prison for something they didn't do. Or base the facts and maybe for the charge they're being charged with is not correct. And I think a lot of people want to feel like they're doing something. They're macho because we found this guy guilty. It makes them feel good. But wait until it's their turn. And they got to sit back and be judged by the same panel of people just like what they did. Because they committed a crime. And they say, oh no, I didn't commit that crime. Just like the individual they judged. Yeah, wearing the same shoes is very hard to do. So I think people really need to think about it before they make a determination on whether somebody's guilty or innocent. And facts that are presented by the prosecutor are not facts. People don't understand you don't get to hear all the facts in the case. You only hear what the prosecutor wants you to hear. The defense attorney gets very little in there. And that's why people get convicted. It's not because they always done the crime. It's because they don't get to hear everything that happened. And then later on they hear about it and they feel really bad because they convicted that person.